So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuna. Well, it's a great, crappy day in the East Kootenays, but that's what you expect when it's getting to be almost Christmas. Did I say that out loud? Started playing Christmas music on the radio out here, and we've got Christmas puking out everywhere. Drove past the park yesterday, and they're already putting up the lights and getting everybody excited, and I'm just waiting to get, through Taven's birthday. Anyways, this morning, I received my email from Steve Arbor, and I must say, that thing is fabulous. I've never owned one in my life. I put it together wrong to begin with, but I figured it out with Steve's help, and that's one thing I will say about Steve. The customer service that he's given me this morning was fabulous. How to set it up, how to smoke with it, everything. So if you guys are interested in getting one of those, hit Steve Arbor up on Facebook, and he'll help you out with that. This morning, I have a return guest. Russle and Christine have been on my show a couple times, but they're starting out with a new project that we want to talk to them about. It's called the Cannabis Project. And Russ has been around for decades. I must say, he's one of my mentors, and I've followed Russ and Christine for years. So good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Christine's busy over there, so.
Hey, doing just fine, thanks.
So she's working away on her iPad, so it's mostly me this morning.
Well, that's excellent.
Yeah,
it's good to have you back on.
It's a very sunny and cold day here in Ottawa right now. So.
I remember when I got to Ottawa that February when I first met you guys. It was sunny and blue skied, but cold as, and I was wearing dress pants.
That was a sad day. One of our tauntauns died.
Oh, it was horrible.
That was a very bad day.
Yeah, it was awful.
But that's typical. I mean, Ottawa gets a good 8 or 9 days like that every winter, where you just go, this is supernatural cold,
Right.
And there's a lot of Canadians experience that, but if you're like, people from Vancouver don't understand it all. They just don't. Even people from Toronto, although it can get pretty bad in Toronto.
Yeah, I've never been out east except for in Ottawa during the winter. And then I was in Peterborough and in Toronto, and it was cold. It was really cold. But it's
Ottawa
cold out here
too
in the winter. Yeah.
We're in a valley. We're only about 60 meters above sea level, so Ottawa gets brutal hot in the summer, like endanger your grandma kind of weather. So yeah.
I think we all experience that in Canada. It's from one extreme to the other, right? It's either like 40 below or 40 above, and there's no in between sometimes. It just gets to be ridiculous. I don't think our American friends quite, see that too. And, we've got friends that listen from Australia and all over the world. And yeah, Canada's a different entity all on its own. You can look out the window. It can be raining one minute and it'll be snow on the next and hailing the next. And 20 minutes later it's sunny again, right?
When I was a teenager, some people from Australia came to visit the people across the street, and they were making a square snowman because they'd never played with snow before.
Well, I think our Australian friends were when Murray was here. I think that they got him thrown in a snowbank and made snowmen with him, so he was in tune to what was going on over here. But our other, I don't think the other ones that Caroline and Tamara that have were here with me in August have been here in the wintertime. So it would be, I'm sure it's a culture shock and a bit of an experience if you've never seen snow or even, experienced the cold, right? Or, like I said, it's different here because one minute it's raining and the next minute it can be sunny. It's ridiculous. Cranbrook seems to be in a bowl. It can be storming all around us and sunny and blue sky here. It's just kind of ridiculous how it works here. And we are the sunshine capital of Canada. And I get that because you can almost see, around you, it's dark, dark, dark everywhere. And then we're blue skies. So
it's weird.
It is. It's kind of strange. So you guys, let's go back. You guys have a little bit of history for some of our listeners that may not know who you guys are. Activist for how many years? Wrote Mummy's Funny Medicine. How many letters? You go ahead.
It started pretty much in 2003. It's when we sort of came onto the public scene. We, with the help of Mike Foster at Crosstown Traffic, he published a book that we wrote and illustrated and colorized called Mommy's Funny Medicine, which was the world's first children's book about medical marijuana. There's like dozens of them now, and most of them are like way better. But and that's not not to diminish our book, but I mean, there's a lot more elaborate books, more longer stories, more text, more lavish kind of illustrations and stuff. But ours was the first, and we're very proud of that. And then I made a name for myself getting letters to the editor published. I got 830 of them published over a course of 8 years, which no one in Canada has ever done before, whether it's pot or any other topic. So I inadvertently became the most published letter to the editor writer in Canadian history, Canada's biggest crank, I guess you'd call me. And then, we did other things here too. Like I dressed up as Jesus for a couple of the local pride parades, and I crashed the pride parade, which everyone loved. But, it wasn't sanctioned by the Pride Committee or anything like that because I had a pot leaf sign that I was holding. You can see the video on YouTube. Just type in Jesus, Ottawa, Pride, and you'll see all the footage there. And, that I think is some of my best work. That's my Sergeant Pepper. That's the thing I want to be remembered for, I think, because it was, aside from my wedding, it was the most fun I ever had in Ottawa. Oh, and then, more recently, for about 2.5 years, we did a weekly show called Pottawa. And that was, unlike a lot of the stuff you see on Cannabis Culture viewing, we weren't using pot on camera. We weren't sort of sitting there with volcano bags, and I didn't have a mic sort of right up in my face and stuff. We tried to make it look more like a news analysis presentation, So I would recap some of the stories. It was funny when we first started. We started that at Buzz On, which was a lounge that it was alive briefly here in Ottawa. And so we would do it weekly from there. The first episode started in a gigantic blizzard, and we almost didn't make it home alive.
I remember that.
And then Buzz On closed, so we had to do it here from my apartment for a long time. And then eventually it was just me by myself, and it wasn't really any fun. And at first I would go, okay, I'm going to review the pot-related stories from the past week. And there used to be like 4. And then by the time the show ended, there were like 37. So I had to pick sort of the best 22, and just decide what I was going to do. And
the closer to October 17th, it's just like you couldn't turn the news on with it not being about cannabis.
Exactly. And not all the news was good. And it really took a lot out of me because the whole general thrust of the show was, oh my God, can you believe this shit? Because whether it was the ridiculous prohibitions that were still in place or the ridiculous regulations that were at the time coming, or the ridiculous lies that CBC mainly was, spewing about pot and the dangers thereof. Like every week it was really taking a lot out of me. Like I tried to make it a positive show. I tried to make it a upbeat kind of show and energetic and stuff and professionally looking, but it drained me because you were just kind of, oh man, look at this shit the whole time, like the whole 2 days to put the show together. So I got fed up with that. And because my producer couldn't schlep all the way across town, it was getting like sort of costing more money than we were making off the show because we didn't really have much in the way of, we had some sponsorship, but it wasn't like a lot of money coming in. Right. So we let it go. But then I started this other project. What's that?
it's tough to get sponsorship. Like, I mean, even for our network too, like we don't have a lot of sponsorship. We kind of run on the ass of our pants too, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and you know that too, because you worked with us as well on the network as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of money in cannabis journalism, that's for sure.
No, that's for sure. So the thing I decided to work on is I finally, with ACMPR changes and stuff, we've been living on charity for about 4 years, almost 5 years. So we kind of sorted out our supply line thing back in May. And on my birthday, my 49th birthday, I decided I wanted to get into, holy shit, that guy's 49 kind of shape. Not just, get into pretty good shape, but I want to look like astonishing for my age. Not huge necessarily. I'm not going to try and set any records of, how many push-ups I can do or how much I can bench press or anything like that. But just, beyond what a normal 50-year-old guy should look. The main reason I want to do this is
cannabis too, right?
And using cannabis, yeah. Well, the thing is, I keep hearing this fop, this liar, this coward, Justin Trudeau, who says that pot is not a health remedy. It's not a health benefit. It's not, a performance enhancer. He says it in different ways, but basically he's like, no, pot's not good for you. And I'm like, really? Because the more I use, the healthier I get. So now he's in really good shape, but I mean, he's had a whole life of being healthy and wealthy and, staying in shape and stuff. So that's why he's in good shape. For the first 32 years of my life or so, I treated my body like an amusement park garbage can on Canada Day. Like, I just ate junk food and I didn't care, and I pretty much figured I was going to be dead before I was 25. And there was a short period where I put an alarming amount of booze and Tylenol into myself. And I wasn't, as a teenager and as a young, like in my, tweens and stuff, I was very physically active. I played competitive hockey, in different towns and stuff. At the age of 12, I could skate backwards as fast as anybody in my league could skate forwards. So I rode dirt bikes. I rode my bicycle a lot. I skateboarded. I was, from the age of like 9 to 14, I always had an ankle or an elbow or a knee or a wrist taped up because of some minor injury that I had managed to acquire falling off a bicycle, a skateboard, or a dirt bike. So it's not like I was averse to exercise. But with fibromyalgia, you don't just get pain and spasms and stuff like that. Every single person who is doing a physical thing, and if you do it repetitively, or let's say you're carrying a television or you're carrying bags of stuff, there comes a point where your body just says, your willpower has no say in it. Your body goes, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And your hands open or your arms straighten out and you drop the thing and that's it. It's over. With fibromyalgia, that happens way too early. You're just trying to carry groceries. You're just trying to move some furniture around and your body's like, no, I'm just not going to do that. So you're like, oh, come on. It's like, having a petulant, lazy teenager for a body. So, and for someone like me who has gone, I've been at my job puke sick. I've done jobs that endangered my safety and even my life. When I was 18, helping somebody build a barn, this goes completely against my work ethic. So with cannabis, I'm able to sort of push my body to the point that it doesn't do that. That reflex of just shutting itself off, the muscles just shutting down, don't do that anymore. So I can work out. When I have cannabis, I can work out like a normal person. So now that I have, at least I have since May, a more consistent line on cannabis, I decided to embark on this new project of getting into shape. And at first I wanted to call it the Adonis Project. But I looked that up on Instagram, and it seems to be some sort of modeling agency or something, because there's all these little wayfish girls and all of these sort of young sort of twinks, posing in varying stages of dress and undress, looking bored and glamorous. So I thought, okay, Adonis Project is obviously not something I want to mix with that. And we kicked some ideas around. Steve Arbor, incidentally, from eNails, he's been a big help with all of this. He actually coined Can Adonis because I wanted to get the whole cannabis thing in there. And the main thing about this is to try and get other people involved. We want to showcase cannabis as a performance enhancer. So it's not about, oh, hey, dig Russell, look how Russell looks, or look how much exercise Russell can do, or look how many bench press things he did, or anything like that. It's about getting other people, is to inspire other people to use cannabis on camera, exercise on camera, and then post the photos or the little videos and stuff to Instagram and YouTube and Facebook with the hashtag Canadonis, capital C, capital A. And and all ages, all genders, everybody. For me, it's Adonis, which is this, I don't know, Greek god or whatever. And I thought it would be sort of a funny name. I'm not an Adonis now, but I feel like I'm about a third of the way along. And I feel at this rate, by probably January or February, I'm going to be looking possibly even to do some modeling work, sort of, silver fox modeling type of thing.
Well, that's something, that we can all look forward to, having to see. But exactly, like watching the project, because like I said, we're not young people. Like, we're not in our 20s, we're in our late 40s, and for anybody to be inspired by anybody getting fit, like, it doesn't matter whether it's the use of cannabis that helps you or anything, just having that empowerment, right?
Yeah.
What motivated you? What really got you motivated to do this? Like, what motivated
me? I'll tell you, it was back in 2012 when I had enough cannabis. I was using 10 grams a day. And when I was using sort of 2.5, 3 grams a day, I was telling my doctor, if I had more, I think I could do more. And if I get sort of too stoned, I'll just dial it back. I'm not trying to get high. I'm trying to get well. And she's like, okay. So she signed for more. And then I was getting about 10 grams in a day. So I thought I was going to be walking around just like baked, right? Just totally, Leo from that 70s show. Just, what? Wow, man, this is far out. And I wasn't. All I got was like symptom alleviation. So, and then the buzz just faded. So it was kind of like watching Tony Stark climb out of a dilapidated Iron Man suit that doesn't work anymore. I just felt freed of this weight and this encumbrance. So I started walking a lot more. I started working out a lot more and all this kind of stuff. And I was getting into pretty good shape. I wasn't pushing myself, but I was getting into pretty good shape. Then early 2014, we get the news about MMAR. Our two GGs are like, yeah, we can't do this anymore. We're bailing because we're not risking our homes and our children on a maybe because the injunction hadn't come through yet, the Allard injunction. So we were just left. We were just left, scrounging and rationing the medicine that we get. So I couldn't really exercise. I could barely get my chores and stuff done. I could barely get my errands done. I could barely take care of my wife. It's been up and down over the past years, but this past summer when we finally managed to find a secure supply situation, that I was able to try and embark on this. Because I promised myself, if I ever get my supply situation sorted out, I'm going to get into absolutely astonishing shape. That's the goal anyway. I'm going to look twice as good as guys half my age. I want to take my shirt off in public and have guys that are 25 go, oh, Jesus, I got to get into the gym. I want to inspire. Right? I want to not only inspire, but like shame people.
Well, like I said,
I want to shame people who have no challenge. Like I want to shame people who are young and lazy and overweight and stoners, and they have no excuse to not get in shape. There's a lot of dad bods. When I was we were living in a different part of town a few years ago. One thing I noticed at this high school near my place was how many of the boys had tits.
Oh.
And I'm not talking like, they were a little overweight. I'm talking 16-year-old, 17-year-old boys walking around with full B cups.
Right.
Right? From just being like eating junk food and not exercising.
I think the whole point of that's the thing, over the last 20 years, we've become a really unhealthy society. And I don't think, in shaming people is the way of going about it because, there are medical, reasons why people do have, health issues and stuff too. But in society, we're eating more junk food. People are going to McDonald's. The convenience of fast food has become because we're so dang busy. Never mind the fact that you got cannabis, in your life too. That's a a no-brainer if you're wanting to be healthy. But there's so much put in front of us now. Like, society's just kind of given up on even wanting to be healthy, I think. I mean, but then there's from one extreme again to the other. You got your health nuts, and then you've got the ones that don't give a shit, right?
Well, what I've noticed with, the healthy diet and the healthy lifestyle is sometimes people resent it because they realize that they're stuck in a situation where they have to work hard to bring home enough money. And by the time they're done doing that, they're feeling pretty burned out and they just want to eat something and go to sleep. And they can't really find that motivation. I've been there. I've been as heavy as 230 pounds. I'm only 6 feet tall. When Christine met me, I was yellow, like as yellow as any emoji, man. I was visibly sick. You saw me walking down the street, you'd be like, Jesus, look at that guy. He's going to die soon, And so, I've been
That's
there.
crazy.
So when I say, I'm kind of joking when I say I want to shame people. I want to shame people who have no excuse. I'm obviously not going to, fat shame somebody or disable shame. So obviously, I've been in a wheelchair myself.
Right.
But I'm trying to sort of be an inspiration because it's the underlying theme is if this guy can do it, anybody can.
Right.
And that's sort of the point, is I'm not someone special. I don't have special abilities. In fact, I have some encumbrances. But one of the things about fibromyalgia, in my research early on is they're like, when I first was diagnosed, I basically gave up. I just started eating garbage and dropping pills into myself and drinking booze because I thought I can't do all this quinoa and rice and yoga and all this bullshit. That's just not who I am.
Right.
It's just not who I am. I'm the guy who drinks a 750 ml cola with 3 hot dogs or 4 hot dogs that I can eat in like under 4 minutes. And then I get on a bicycle and I go do stuff. But then my body's like, you know what? No. So I thought, well, to hell with that. So I just started pounding drugs into myself. And then I gradually turned that around. One of the things that actually helped me kind of start to turn that around was a psychedelic experience that I had, where I took a whopping great dose of mushrooms, and I didn't hallucinate or anything. I just very much realized a bunch of shit that I already knew. And the way to understand that concept is you can read 100 books or 1,000 books about parenting, but until you spend a week with a child under the age of 3, you don't know a goddamn thing about parenting, right? So there's a difference that's the difference between knowing and realizing. So I was able to realize a lot of stuff about my drug use and my diet and my health. It took me a while to turn that around. But I was marching headlong towards my own death. And that mushroom trip was the moment that I stopped and looked back over my shoulder. So it took me a while to turn it around. But, in 2002 or 2001, when Christine came into my life, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to stick around for her. I'm going to try and stay a little healthier. And then in 2002, it's really Christine who inspired me because we went to see this Million Marijuana March. And this is before 420 was even happening on Parliament Hill, right? This is in 2002. So 420 was happening sort of organically over at Majors Hill Park in Ottawa. And we went to this thing. God, there couldn't have been more than 200 people scattered all over the lawn. Somebody had a guitar amp with a microphone plugged into it, giving speeches. And we found that very inspirational. We came home, and Christine was very just pensive for the next 24 hours, quiet and looking out over the city off the balcony. And I thought, well, this is not like her. I hope she's not going to leave or make some, I don't know what the hell's going on. So finally, the tension was too much. I said, what's going on? What are you doing? She says, I'm thinking of quitting all of my pharmaceuticals and just using cannabis. So I said, okay, that sounds like a pretty wise choice, but there's some problems. First of all, if we're going to do that, we need to become public activists because, we don't have kids, we don't have careers, and this stuff needs to be said publicly. And being a public activist seems to give you a little bit of a shield against law enforcement. When you're sticking your face out in the media, the cops are scratching their heads a little bit as to what to do. Well, does he want to get arrested? I don't understand. So it was really Christine who started us on that. And then, so I said, if we're going to be public activists, we're going to have a lifestyle that is pretty much above reproach. And she goes, yeah, that's the thing I was worried about. Are you with me on that? I'm like, I can't do that alone, but you if we're doing it together, yeah, I can do that. So we just started, changing our diet, and we've been amending that diet over the past, 16, 17 years. Found a nice groove now. Year and a half ago, I quit eating fruit. I have a little bit of lemon in my drink, but I don't eat like raisins and apples and stuff like that like I used to. Because with fibromyalgia, your body just turns sugar into pain. So fruit is just basically sugar.
Exactly.
Fruit is
I'm
sugar
not. We're
and
gonna
some
take
moisture and some vitamins. And I get enough sugar with all the carrot that I eat. I eat lots of carrot.
Oh,
So
that's good.
rice and stuff. So I get plenty of sugar in my life. I don't need fruit. I don't even really miss the fruit.
No.
But
On that note, we're
Christine
gonna take a quick break because we're gonna take a quick break here, and then we'll come back and talk more about the difference. Because I know even when I was out there, you guys were eating differently back then. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So vegetarian too. Well, you were vegetarian. I think you were Were you guys just vegetarians?
No, we're not vegetarians.
No, you weren't. You were no. But
we
yeah,
just
but it
eat
was
a lot less of the crap that most people eat.
Right. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. I will like to thank my sponsors, who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society, MUM, Maritime Missionary for Medical Marijuana, and the Haley Rose Foundation. We're going to listen to Ronald Reggae, the Jamaican Rhapsody. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Please hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Is this the real leaf? Is this the cannabis? Caught on the dry side, must escape from reality. Just legalize, and I gonna plant my seeds. I'm just a homeboy, weed is no luxury. To be here, to be there, little high, very high. Everywhere the weed grows, not all really matters to me. To me. Ganja never killed a man. Put a blunt against his head, like the light, and now he's dead. Ganja, everybody, is a gift from God. So why go and throw it all away? Ganja is meant to make you fly. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, pass it on, pass it on. Save me some for later. Too late, the time has come. Getting legal around the world and improving all the time. Goodbye prohibition, grass has got to grow. Gotta leave ignorance behind and spread the buzz. Ganja. We all wanna fly. This magical herb should be distributed to all. A puff of a spliff. Kush, purple kush, will you make me want to go? Look at all the lights are very, very frightening me. I'm just a homeboy, nobody stones me. He's just a homeboy from a dry neighborhood. Easy plant, easy grow, will you let me grow? We will not let you grow. Let me grow. We will not let you grow. Let me grow. We will not let you grow. Let me grow. We will not let you grow. Let me grow. Sensimilia, let me grow. There's a bump, there's a devil on the side for me. You can't tell me and dreams make me high. So you think you can come here and outsmoke the eye? Oh, brethren, pass it on to me, brethren. Just gotta get high, just gotta get high right now. No law really matters. Anyone can smoke. No law really matters. No law really matters to the eye.
All right. We're back with Russ. And we were having a bit of we were talking over the break about the media and how they're hacks. and it's true. Like, and we were like discussing the fact that they're coming out with all this negative stuff about, save the children and raising the age of consent or raise the age of, being able to buy cannabis, which is over the age of 18. The fear mongering that comes out of the media, but like I said, it's the Canadian Medical Association too. But again, media not cross-referencing and wanting to call these people, like I said, liars on the air.
Well, this is it. The truth. They never, if somebody goes on the air and they go, oh well, pot's really groovy. It'll make you levitate. It'll give you superpowers. They're, little Rosie's going to be there. Like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. We're going to cross-check that. And then, but if Bill Blair says some outlandish thing, or some other person from Cam H says some outlandish thing, they just nod and smirk like, okay, whatever. They don't even bother to look it up, or they've looked it up, they realize this person's full of shit, and they're pushing an agenda that's basically lies. So either they're lazy hacks or they're agenda-driven propagandists. Either way, they have no use in our society. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like I guess as activists, we have to call them out. And I guess we do.
Yeah, but I mean, as citizens, this is the thing. As citizens, it pisses me off because it's their job to be telling us the truth when the government's lying to us, but they don't. So, what's their agenda? Who the hell are they involved? Right. Here in Ottawa, we have this person who works at the Ottawa Citizen who I call Hacky Filler. She's a bad writer. So she's not very subtle in her bias when she reports. And then, she tries to make it look like she's not biased, but it's, you just go look at her stuff, man. It's so sad.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
and this is why I hate the media even more now than cops and politicians, is because they're supposed to be on our side. Cops and politicians are never on our side. The media is supposed to be on our side, and they're not.
Right.
They're pretending they are, and they're not.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
But I want to get back to the positive thing. So this is why I stopped doing Pottawas, because I would get worked up like this every week. I had to do 20 minutes of shouting into a camera like this.
Well,
and it was killing me.
Well,
So
we want to take your stress level back down. So we'll go back to talking about, the change in diet and the change that, you and Christine started embarking on. Like I said, it's been a long journey for you guys as well, because of the fact that even like I said, when I was out there, you guys were eating pretty healthy then. Like, I remember walking in there and no smoking, because I smoke, right? And you were giving me shit about that. No caffeine. There's no caffeine in the house, which is cool. Like, everybody has their, quirks, minor caffeine.
We don't let people smoke in here, but if people come over and they want to bring wine over because we're gonna have dinner or something like that. Not that it's ever happened, but we're okay with that. We don't have a problem with people using booze or coffee around us. Like, we don't wag a finger in their face like, oh, you shouldn't drink that. But it's more like, no, we don't touch it. And a lot of people go, like, when we tell people about our diet and our lifestyle, they go, oh, wow, the self-discipline. And I go, no, man, it's not discipline. It's dread. I dread the symptoms I will get from eating white bread or dairy or whatever more than I dread the feeling of not eating something yummy. Right. And that's a problem that a lot of North Americans don't seem to understand, is it's okay to not eat something yummy and then feel bad about it afterwards. You know what I mean? You don't have to give in to every craving. Oh, I feel like getting some Timmies. I feel like having some Timbits. I feel like having a smoked meat sandwich. I live in Ottawa. There's a Dunn's here. You think I don't want to eat a smoked meat sandwich like every day? Of course I do. But if I put one piece of stewing beef, those little stewing chunks you can buy, piece, a bite of steak that size, my gut comes to a dead stop for 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it takes me 4 or 5 days to get that out and poop everything behind. So no more of that. When I got
just red meat? Is it red meat or is it like
it's beef?
Can you eat wild?
I eat lamb. I eat 150 grams of lamb or 250 grams of chicken or 6 ounces of fish. That's
so is lamb considered a red meat or is lamb considered a white meat?
Lamb is considered a red meat.
Oh. And I don't eat any
pork
lamb.
Is a white meat. What
about if you had access to, say, elk or deer venison? Would that be that's red
meat? Those are red meat.
Would you eat that? Yeah,
you'd
eat those, right?
I don't. The problem with elk and deer and stuff, they're like, oh, it's wild. It's like, yeah, but so what? They get exposed to a lot of crazy stuff out there too,
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I would usually just avoid that kind of thing. But like when I started researching how to pack on weight and muscle, every website is like, what's the best food for packing on muscle? It's always quinoa, spelled quinoa, but it's quinoa. And apparently, gram for gram, it's the best protein muscle builder food there is. So, a typical day for me is I get up and I don't eat for quite a while because I usually wait for Christine to get up with me. I'll be up and I'll just do stuff on the computer and that. And then I'll eat 3 raw eggs and about 50, 60 grams of hemp seed. Just, mix it all together like a nog, and I just drink it down and some water. And it doesn't taste great, but whatever, I don't really care. And then I'll have a big bowl of lentil soup, and that's usually my breakfast. A few hours later, I'll have like rice cakes and some Brazil nuts and some vegetables and stuff. And then later in the day, I'll have a big meal, which is consists of the meat that I mentioned, but also mixed with that meat. Like we'll cook that meat on the stove, not really fry it, but sort of cook it in a frying pan, if you know what I mean. Poach it, I guess you'd call it. And we drain it off. It's cooked. And then we have this other stuff that we've cooked in a special pot in our pressure cooker. It's called an Ottawa pot. And we cook quinoa, pot barley, a couple of different kinds of rice, and 5 or 6 different kinds of legumes, all cooked in one batch in this thing. So I scoop in a bunch of that stuff, that cooked stuff, into the frying pan, and then I heat the whole thing up and add some garlic and salt and tamari and oil and stuff like that for flavor, and that's our meal. A big bowl of rice and pot barley and quinoa and meat. I don't mix the fish with that. I usually just eat the fish by itself, and then we'll eat a big bowl of the quinoa and pot barley and rice afterwards. But that's pretty much how we eat every day. And doctors are really.
Were you not trying a different diet for like the keto diet for Christine at one time too. You guys have tried changing.
Yeah, she eats a variety of vegetables. The ketogenic diet is dangerous. It can be dangerous. You can get all kinds of side effects and stuff. And she quit doing that back May of 2017 when she had her first post-ictal psychosis experience.
Mm-hmm.
She was just screaming complete gibberish for 36 hours. We thought maybe it was the diet, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. Turns out the Poindexters at the hospital didn't even bother to look up, epilepsy psychosis. We didn't know what the hell was causing it. And then the second time it happened, about 1 year later, almost to the day, it turns out that post-ictal psychosis is a sort of a seizure type state that presents like schizophrenia. So a lot of times people will have a cluster of seizures, then they start behaving like a schizophrenic, and people go, oh, they're schizophrenic. And then they start pounding them with like other schizophrenic medicines that don't actually address the problem. So as it turns out, all you have to do is give her a little bit of Haldol, which is a mild antipsychotic that doesn't give her any problem at all, like in terms of side effects. 1 milligram twice a day for 3 days after every cluster, and she hasn't had any psychotic episodes since May.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear.
Still has these bad mood swings where she basically throws a tantrum like a 10-year-old girl and screams and yells and throws things and says the most unforgivable things and spits in my face and assaults me. And so I've been injured. And this is getting back to the story about Cannadonis. I start embarking in May, right? Okay, I'm going to go down to the gym and I'm not going to push myself, not going to be crazy, just going to gradually work my way up. And I noticed in the first 2 weeks, man, a steep curve, a steep increase in, the number of reps I could do, the amount of weight I was using, all of this kind of stuff. So I was feeling really good about that. But then the weather set in. It was June, and we got so friggin' hot in here we couldn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't about, I have to get, 1 million push-ups done by October or whatever. It was about getting into proper shape. It was about putting on the weight and getting healthy. So I'm not using, growth hormones or steroids or protein powders. It's just a good, healthy diet, steady exercise, gradually increasing. So that was a setback. I got injured wrestling with Christine one time, hurt my ribs really bad. Back in October, I got injured again. My right wrist has been killing me, and I've been still working out through that. So, and then through the second half of October, I got deprived of sleep because the lady upstairs started freaking out. She seems convinced that whatever noise it is that she's hearing, and there's probably really is genuinely a noise humming in her wall, she's convinced that we're making it. And she thought the best way to address this issue was to stomp on my ceiling at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we had like 3 weeks of totally disrupted sleep, and we had to call the cops and the noise complaint and the security and the building and everything. So, but now I'm back on it, working out. I've had 5 or 6 days in a row of working out really hard, and I'm really feeling good about this. I feel I'm about a third of the way along. And by February or March, by the next 420 anyway, I'm going to look like a god.
So you're keeping like video track and picture tracks, and are you like measuring yourself every week? Like, how are you keeping track of everything?
Right now, I'm just kind of posting videos, giving updates. I'm going to gradually start. Right now, I do a thing called the eclectic workout that I just joke name I came up with, where I have like 33 or 34 different exercises on my sheet. And I'll do like arm stuff and then ab stuff and then leg stuff and then back to arms and abs and legs. So while my arms are friggin' sore from doing, hammer curls, I can go and do some other thing with my legs, giving my arms a bit of a break. And then my legs hurt from doing the leg extend. So I can go lie down and do some ab stuff, like side crunches or whatever. And then by that point, my arms are feeling better. So I'll go over and do the pull down and so on. So I'm constantly rotating. And then in about 2 more weeks, I'm going to start more isolated workouts where one day it's going to be like an hour and a half of just, arms and shoulders and stuff. And then the next day, hour and a half of just torso, and then hour and a half of legs the third day sort of thing.
I know that's kind of how my daughter, my daughter just started a regime about a year ago. We're going to take a quick break here again, and we'll come back and talk more about how physically she's changed too over the last year with her journey, as well as how it can be done quite easily with, no matter how old you are.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is 53 and he's just shifted to pot. So
That's right. So we'll come back. I'd like to thank my sponsors, who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, MUM, Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, the Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society, and his Haley Rose Foundation. Our song is going to be Ronald Reggae, Dust in the Wind. We'll be right back.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reef Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with Cannabis and Coffee with Tamarijuna. Then tune in and catch Pottawa with Russle Barth, who calls himself the world's angriest pothead. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashishin. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gignac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
And the moment's gone. All my leaves pass before my eyes like off dexterity. Dust in the wind. Every time there's dust in the wind. Same old bone. Just a drop of water in a season's sweet. Oh, we did crumble to the ground, though we refuse to see. Dust in the wind. Every time there's dust in the wind. Dust in the wind. Every time there's dust in the wind. Now pass it on. Nothing lasts forever, surely not the jade. It blows away. But know your money, one another ounce by. Dust in the wind. Every time there's dust in the wind.
All right, we're back with Russ and talking more about health and how cannabis health, helps everybody's health. Never mind medicinally, but also, motivationally. Some people use it, opens your mind, makes you a little more artsy and, a little more creative and, gives some people motivation to get up and get on a treadmill. We were talking about how, it's changed my daughter's life too, because before she was, I hate to say it, had a problem with heroin. In the last year, she's weaned herself down to smoking cannabis. She got her card, and she just won 5th in her novice division for bodybuilding. So, nice. Taking that one extreme to another, I guess, putting your mind into a better, healthier place to begin with. And if that means working out and helping, your body get back to being healthy, gives your brain back to being healthy. And we don't talk enough about brain health, and I think cannabis is something that really helps our brain health, which makes us, more motivated and wanting to do better, because when you're feeling better physically, your brain health is better as well too.
Well, there's a science called neuroplasticity, and some people don't even realize it, or they refuse to admit it when you tell them that if you take a kid out of an abusive home, say age 6 or 7, and you bring them into a nice home where they're spoken to properly and they're fed properly, they get enough sleep, get proper exercise and stuff, education, their brain will physically change. When you change your life and your lifestyle, your brain actually builds new physical neurons and new neural pathways to do the thing that you're doing. So if you are trained to be a soldier and you're going training, your brain builds new neurons to do that. And then when you go into combat, you can kind of scramble you a bit, but neuroplasticity with exercise, with proper diet, and with proper attitude adjustment, you can actually not only change your mind, you physically change your brain. And this happens, it happens faster at certain points of your life and slower at other certain points of your life, but it is possible to change your brain. And so I've noticed a lot of changes. I'm sleeping better, and not so much as a result of the pot use, because I've used big doses of pot and then not exercised in my life. But now I find that the pot's letting me exercise, and the exercise is making me feel better and sleep better and everything.
Right. Well, they say that, exercise is a good way of changing everything about your life.
And
diet, it is a lifestyle change, right? That even a diet, like it's a complete lifestyle change. Like for me to get into the, a whole routine like you're doing, I'd have to completely clean out my fridge, completely clean out my house. There's candy and junk and all kinds of stuff. It would be a total lifestyle change.
Yeah. And it's hard to do all at first because like a lot of people who go, that's it, I'm changing. And then they start eating a bunch of vegetables and a bunch of, organic meat or whatever. They'll suddenly get diarrhea really bad and they get really sick and stuff. So sometimes you got to just wean yourself gradually off of these things, So
it's like quitting smoking, right?
Yeah. It's like the same sort of thing.
Anything.
Like you ask anyone who's quit eating dairy, how much better they feel, and like we were talking about the media earlier and why so many people fear cannabis is because of misrepresentation in the media. But the reason so many people think dairy is wonderful for us is the same reason. Lobbyists, misrepresentation in the media. Dairy is not good for humans, it's not good for cows, and it's not good for the planet. Okay, the environmental impact of the cattle and dairy industries and stuff has been probably overstated. People are like, oh, you're destroying the environment. Well, that's less of a concern than what you're doing to your own body. And, you just look at the results. People, I've often been scolded by people who don't want to change their lifestyle. And they're kind of like, it's this, everybody's fine. People are eating this stuff and they're not getting sick. Yes, they are. Look around you. 1/3 of the population is merely overweight. Another third of the population is actually clinically obese. We're dying in droves from things, not from cannabis. We're dying from things like hypertension, obesity, heart disease, things that are caused by our diet and our lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So, the point is I'm not trying to sort of wag a finger at people. I'm trying to say, look, man, I did it. You can do it. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. That's sort of the point of this whole project. And to showcase pot as not so much the reason to do it or the thing you need to do it, but as a catalyst. When people ask me like, oh my God, pot got you out of a wheelchair, I say, well, kind of. If I was going to pie chart what got Russell out of the wheelchair, more than half of it would just be the food that I eat. And then 1/4 would be the food I don't eat. And the rest of it would be sort of exercise and, and a very small sliver would be cannabis. The cannabis is like, cannabis is like yeast is to bread. It's a small ingredient, but it's crucial.
Right. And when you look at the fact that, you're just like a normal guy, like, normal, I don't really want to put that word out there, but, just like everybody else, kind of, you don't have any, thing to gain by this. You're not a famous athlete by any stretch, or anybody that's, going to end up in the Olympics probably in the 20.
Yeah, I don't see myself getting into any sort of competitive, rock climbing or anything like that. So.
Right, but you see yourself being healthier, and that's the whole overall thing where you got, we've had athletes in the past that have used, been caught using cannabis, and then they're trying to make it sound like it's a performing enhancing drug like steroids, when it's definitely not that either. It would be, performance enhancing because it makes you feel better. You're not feeling so much your pain, but it's not a steroid. It's not going to, give you muscle boosters, and it's not going to inject you.
There's so many benefits to cannabis that it actually is a performance enhancing drug. For example, let's say you're two skiers, the super fast downhill skiing Olympic guys there, where they go like 92 miles an hour. Let's say they both have a similar injury. They damage their knee, right? One of them goes back to Norway and he recovers. The other one comes back to Canada where he just pounds cannabis for weeks. The inflammation is going to be lower. He's going to heal up faster, and he's going to be back on the slopes faster than that other guy from Norway.
Oh, definitely.
You see?
I'm not saying that.
And in a competitive world of sports where people are winning or losing medals by like hundredths of a second, that 1 week or 2 weeks sped up of recovery can make all the difference. It can make a whole career of difference. Right? So pot is definitely a performance enhancing drug in lots of different ways. It increases bone density. It increases oxygenation to the blood. I mean, a lot of people who do gaming or they play, high reflex games like tennis or soccer or high or something like that, where you got to suddenly change direction or suddenly do something very quick. They talk about a thing called time dilation, where things seem to be moving a little slower than they actually are. So it gives you sort of increased reaction time, or it feels like it does. So a lot of people have noticed that kind of thing. So if you're playing tennis or, I find I get a lot better focus in my workout when I'm, if I'm, more medicated, and I need that focus because I'm also a caregiver. So my focus is often being distracted by just Christine being in the room with me. Right. So I couldn't do any of this without pot. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think there's many of us that can't get through a day or wouldn't want to. It's not like I can't get through a day without cannabis. It's not like I have to have it. It's like but it's medical for me too, right? Yeah. So, I mean, there's that whole difference in, needing, wanting, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the difference between cannabis, right?
My body needs cannabis to function properly. It's as simple as that. And, from recent research too, they're finding out that fibromyalgia may actually be caused by a deficiency of cannabis, right? So, and it stands to reason because the more I have, the more healthy I feel. Right. And I mean, right now I'm in a lot of pain, but the pain is corresponding to the amount of workout that I've been doing. So I feel more or less like a normal person. But aside from the fibromyalgia, I've got a neck injury that, makes things a little difficult. But I don't have what a lot of guys my age have is like, knees that were damaged from sports or, a slipped disc or a bulging disc. I don't have any problems with any of my discs. I don't have any problems with any of my vertebrae. My joints, a little bit of arthritis here and there, but it's nothing, no damage has really been done, except for the multiple injuries I, had as a kid. So I'm in a position where I can work out and I can get myself into this kind of shape. And eventually I'm hoping to maybe do some modeling. I've already got one contract as sort of a spokespatient. We're going to try and produce a commercial for this product, which we'll reveal later. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping to get more, like any of the sort of illicit dispensaries or the shatter makers or shatter sellers, people who are still off of the stop sign weed market. I really want to have nothing to do with that at all. But if if someone's got a lounge or someone's got anything, I'm going to be pretty soon. I'm going to be in the market for some modeling jobs, I think.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, it's something new to look forward to, right? And get yourself out there. And I mean, Ottawa too. Like you're right in the hub of everything. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, with I mean, as far as Ottawa goes, I mean, there's really not a lot of work here. I'd have to go to Toronto to find stuff, but I have some connections in Toronto where I could probably get into some interviews or whatever. So we'll see. One thing at a time, though. I got to get my body looking like the kind of thing you're going to see on the front of a magazine. So
right. So of course, you're looking at probably another 3 to 6 months, and then as we will watch it, we're going to look forward to watching your progress. And anybody who wants to find you, they can find you on a Cannabis Project on Facebook as well as Twitter. And where else can they find you?
No Twitter, just Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I encourage people to join in, post up, do your pictures, do a dab, do a bunch of push-ups or whatever, and then, post it.
Absolutely. So if you want to reach out to Russ and Christine, then, they're on Facebook too. He's also Instagram, YouTube. Anything else? Anybody else you'd like to give a shout out to there, Russ?
Thanks to my sponsors and supporters there. I've got Christine's Corner. She's making art, and that's been very helpful. And enails.ca. You want to go check out that website. You really want to get an e-nail, man. It'll change your life. You'll never use a torch again. Crosstown Traffic. That's a local head shop that's been around since 1917 or something. And and Buzz On, which is, our friend Wayne Robillard, impresario and activist, head shop there too on Center Street. These guys have been helping us out and keeping us going for many years now. So yeah, go check out their websites and go, maybe buy something off them.
That's right. And yeah, definitely go check out eNail. It's e-nails.ca, and it's all in, you have to leave capital letters.
Yeah, you'll never use a torch again.
No, I just got mine this morning, and like I said, the customer service that I was given Steve was terrific. He, told me exactly how to use it. When I put it together wrong, he, sent me a message saying no, and told me how to put it together right. Because I'm a newbie at this, right? Like I've never had one before, so I've used it a couple times this morning. I quite like it. I'm actually glad to put my torch in my, away. I loved my nectar collector though too, right?
Yeah.
But it's not working, so well either. Like there's so many different tools. Right?
Yeah. I've used things like the Shatterizer, 2 Hoot and stuff like that. And I find myself, I'm spending a whole lot of time just scraping dab out of the inside of the dome.
Right. And just, taking it apart. Yeah.
The e-nail, you save time, you save hassle, and you save dab. Because too often with the torch, you either hit it when it's too hot, so you're getting burn off, or you're hitting it when it's too cool. You've got like a 5-second window where the temperature's just right. So with an e-nail, we turn it on at 7 o'clock in the morning when we get up, and we leave it on pretty much the whole day as long as we're home. And we just, time for a dab, walk over, have a dab. We usually tag team it, like a big enough dab for 2 people. I take a hoot, she takes a hoot, I take the third part, we wipe it off, and that's it. We have a dab. And if you turn it on, it's up to heat in like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
it's not like you got to make a pot of coffee or something where it's going to take 5-10 minutes. You go, I feel like a dab. Turn it on. 2.5 minutes later, you're already stoned. Turn it off and go back to what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. Yeah, and it fit right into my Nart glass bong, which I was glad for because I didn't know where I was going to use. Yeah. But no, I'm quite pleased with it. I'm going to wrap the show up right now and turn everything off and sit here and smoke my e-nail. And no disrespect to Shatterizer because it's on the other side of my hand and the other hand too.
They're awesome stuff. They're great for being mobile. That's great if you got to go out someplace, you load it up with half a gram of dab and just go. But when you get home, you got
absolutely. So I mean, like I said, we all have so many different tools, but the ones that I prefer, the Shatterizer is my to-go-to when I'm going, and because I mean it's less smoke and not as evasive, and there's no smell, and there's just so many positive things to using extractions compared to flower, right?
Well, we're all about dab now, oral dosing and dabs.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I always enjoy having you on the show. Hugs to Christine. And next week, I'm having Gerald Cosmetic back from New Orleans. He'll be on the show next week. So we'll talk to you all then. You have a great week. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.